Most of us have heard of the word inflation. Do we really understand what it is and what normally causes it? Inflation is a constant increase in the overall price of goods. If today you buy 100 loaves of bread with $100, one bread being $1, and the next year the price of bread increased to $1.1, you'll only buy 90 loaves of bread. So, even if you think that next year you'll have the same amount of money, $100, in reality, the value of that money has significantly decreased. Let's better explain what inflation is through a story. In the fair lands of Babylon, there lived a shoemaker named John. A local supplier provided him with the necessary skins. He had 10 apprentices who worked under him diligently, for 10 dinars each per month. They took in his knowledge, and together, they made shoes that were an instant success in the market. The local Babylonians loved his handiwork and the high quality of his shoes, and consequently, the demand for the shoes rose. Witnessing the increasing demand for his shoes, John decided to raise the prices to earn a bigger profit. Correspondingly, cash flowed in and John raised the wages of his apprentices by 1 dinar per month. Along with other apprentices in other shops, they bought more goods and created a high demand for other goods too now that they had money. This led to soaring demand for other goods in the market. Other vendors thought along the same lines as John and thus increased the prices of their goods to create more profit. Ergo, the prices of all commodities in the market rose. This increase in prices due to an overall surge in demand is called demand pull inflation. Since John's business seemed successful, 2 other entrepreneurs also decided to open shoe shops. To compete with him, they came with different and more efficient ways to make even better quality shoes. The only problem is that all 3 shoemakers only had one skin supplier. Often, the skin supplier ran out of stock from this high demand. He then decided to raise the skin prices, which forced the shoemakers to raise the price of shoes to maintain their profit. This is now the second cause of inflation called cost pull inflation. While the resident Babylonians went about their life day by day, the king of Babylon declared war with the neighboring kingdom. The battle required mercenaries, food, copper, men, weapons, supplies. But alas, the royal treasury was empty. The king thus decided to print more currency to buy the required goods. He printed a high number of dinars and bought various goods from the Babylonian merchants to aid his war. All merchants now have more money and begin spending it on different goods, generating a boost in demand and therefore a rise in all prices. This is what is known as money supply expansion, the third cause of inflation. Even if the number of goods, in time, became constant, stagnant, the amount of money that had been printed was a lot. This meant that a shoe that had normally cost 10 dinars would now cost 50 dinars to keep at par with the money that was being printed. Due to this, the value of currency went down. Some time ago, 50 dinars could have bought a horse, but now, it could only be equated to a pair of shoes. Due to this, the economy of Babylon took a big hit. This drastic increase in the prices of commodities in the market is called hyperinflation. Over the years, people stopped spending money easily. They were hesitant to spend on goods and services. The demand for products plummeted. John's shoemaking business took a turn for the worse. To sell a large number of shoes that he was making every day, he had to lower the cost. This meant less profit. John couldn't afford to keep 10 workers anymore or pay their wages. He had to let 2 of them go. Other shops suffered a similar predicament, creating lots of unemployment. Others who saw their friends losing their jobs decided to spend less money, not wanting to go broke. As a result, fewer and fewer shoes were bought, and hence John had to fire more apprentices. Unemployment became rampant. This further decreased the demand for goods, thus creating a vicious cycle. This decrease in price levels of commodities is called deflation. Some inflation is considered acceptable, and that's why the government and central bank are trying to control it at an ideal range instead of extinguishing it entirely. At a certain average, some inflation is necessary for economic growth, but once it passes a specific equilibrium point, it negatively affects consumers and the economy's growth. A good equilibrium point is considered in today's capitalist societies as having 2% annual inflation and 4% unemployment. In summary, inflation is the increase in prices of goods and services over time. Inflation lowers your purchasing power and raises the cost of living. Inflation is primarily caused by high demand, low supply as well as increased circulation of money.